What's up, internet? We out here. This is our first. And wait, hang on. Where's the count? There's a count. Hang on. You turned that off. Hang on.
We did this last time. We had a whole podcast.
Okay.
Of just a boom, 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 boom.
All right. That was a 4/4 at 120 BPM. In case any musicians are wondering. What do we got today, Juan?
What's going on, guys? Well, today's a little bit of an impromptu video. We wanted to do a podcast. We've been wanting to do a podcast
because
for a
we
little bit of
weren't
time.
prepared and we didn't make any scripts for other videos.
Yes, usually we plan our videos with a shot list and actors and actresses and scripts and
Mostly us as actors and actresses.
But yeah, we had a busy week. We have a few projects going on, so we didn't really plan for this video. I think that's kind of this one's on me actually. I think this one was my.
You've been writer for like investor.
But we're here. We wanted to try out our podcast station. It's not exactly supposed to be a video, but if you're out there, thank you so much for checking our video out today. We're going to try our podcast and see if we can hop in a little discussion that might be relevant to some of you out there.
And what would that discussion be?
Well, a lot of our followers and people that we've talked to are either a photographer or videographer in a couple of industries. It's either wedding video or photo, or shooting headshots. So we're going to talk about what your ideal setup would be if you were to start fresh right now. If we got rid of all of our gear, and we have a lot of crap, a lot of gear. If we got rid of all of our stuff, what would your ideal setup be if you were going to start a wedding business? Let's say for photo.
Yeah.
You were going to start a wedding business in 2021. You got rid of all this stuff that you have here
For wedding photo.
for wedding
We're
photo.
saying wedding photo.
Yeah. I know there are many weddings going on right now, COVID and all, but hypothetically, trying to give you a little bit of some gear advice. What do
Well,
you think?
I think you got to start with what your goal is, because wedding photo could be different things too. For me, it's whenever I think of photography, there's two sides to it. Like, I obviously like photography and it's how I got into it, but there's also the business side of it, right? If I were to shoot a wedding, I'd want to have the highest end gear that I could afford, right? Since I shoot Canon, because I'm used to it, I would get the R5.
Not the 1DX?
Nah, until they release the R1, then I'll get the R1.
Oof.
I'll get the R5 with all the L glass, all the RF L glass, and that's just me. But that's not a good business decision.
Mhm.
That's a lot of overhead. You're paying that off.
Yeah, especially when you're starting out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to buy everything. You got to buy bodies. You need at least to have 2 bodies. You need to have a wide,
Yeah.
a telephoto, and L glass is not cheap.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what you would get you said R5. What glass would you
Well, let's back off. Let's backtrack. I would get the R5 just for my personal
get? Okay.
happiness, right?
Okay.
If I could do it, I'll do it. But building a business, it's all about scaling, right? It's whether you want to be a lot of wedding shooters are just solo, and they just hire out people when they need to. But I think to be really successful in it and make a reasonable amount of living, you have to scale, and you have to build a team, and you have to supply that team with gear, right? Now, all of a sudden, you're not just buying 2 bodies. Say you're buying 10, you're buying for your shooters. Because at the end of the day, that's a business model that's scalable. You can only shoot one wedding by yourself.
Right.
You can't be at 2 places at once. So that's with that mindset, I would go for the cheaper DSLR, the reliables one, the 5D Mark IV, the 5D Mark III, and get the 24-70 and the 7200.
And we have a 5D Mark III still in our gear cage. That's probably one of the cameras that we use the most.
Yeah.
And I think that's at about, how much is that, the 5D Mark III now?
I think you could probably get one for $1,000.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good price, especially it being full frame,
What is the mark?
beautiful colors.
What is the R5 right now? It's like 3,800. 30.
No, I think that's about 2,800 now, isn't it? I think it dropped
that's way
in
too
price.
cheap.
No. The other thing is that the R5, if you really are trying to go all out,
It's
you have the
$3,899.
38. Okay,
So
that's deep.
that's almost 4 5D Mark IIIs.
But it's almost two cameras when you really think about it, because you have the versatility of photo and video with that camera. That's a really strong camera. But yeah, I agree with you. If we were to start off, it would be 5D Mark IIIs. We would also need to buy a couple of different wides, 24-70, 70-200s, and that does add up.
that's just 24-70, 70-200. That's gonna cover most of what you need.
Yeah, and I think in weddings, when I'm shooting wedding photo, that will cover 95% of the stuff that I'm doing. If anything, sometimes the 100 macro, I think that's a popular one as well for maybe ring shots and details.
Yeah, the macro is good for details. I would say I would get a 35 first before I get a macro. If you could get 3 lenses, because the 35-1.4 is good for the portraits, the creative shots, and then the 24-70 and the 70-200 is good for everything else, right?
Yeah.
You need that versatility to be able to zoom.
Yeah.
That range.
Yeah, I think that's a solid setup. I think if it were for me personally, I would get a bunch of A7 IIIs. I think the price difference now, you can probably get a used A7 III for maybe about $1,400. I've seen some with maybe 20,000 shutter count, which is like nothing for mirrorless as well. And I think the benefits that you have with the mirrorless and the eye autofocus, just outweigh the $400 price difference between the 5D and the A7 III. So I think I would probably get my 10 shooters A7 IIIs.
That's
there is one downside, that the E mount glass is pricey as well. When you're looking at Jenny G Masters, that's
for a set of a 24-70, 70-200 and a camera. What do you say it's gonna cost out the door?
if you're getting a used system, you're probably going to spend about $3,500 for a 7200 and an A7 III. About $3,500. Now, actually, that's not a complete set, because you just said we need a wide. We need a 24-70, which is also another $2,000 if it's used. So, yeah, that's a pretty nice setup. Well, if you're thinking of getting into weddings in 2021, don't do it. It's really pricey.
It is picking up though, the wedding game. So I don't know if we're gonna put an overlay or what, or we're actually gonna do the math right now and just cut it. But I'm interested to see what that difference would be. A 24-70, 70-200 and the body going DSLR or going mirrorless with the Sony.
Yeah, and you know what? There's still a lot of professionals out there that are working off the 5D Mark IIIs and the 5D Mark IVs because they are workhorses. They are reliable. They have beautiful colors. So they don't have the newest technology, but if your plan is to scale a business, that's all you need.
That's what you want, right? You don't want to. I mean, every little thing counts. Like $400 here, $400 there, plus the lenses. That's times 10. Even that's gonna count. That's gonna count as.
And the other thing is SD cards. I think at one point we talked about how much we've invested in SD cards, and I don't know if you can probably see it back here. This right here is our SD card board. I think at one point we counted how many SD cards we had and how much money we'd invested into it, and it was a good chunk of change. Some of them sure are $50-$60. Some of them are $100. Some of them are $300 each, because we have some CFast cards, some raw cards. So it's definitely pricey. So something to consider. What about video? If you wanted to get into wedding video, 2021, that's a little bit different setup.
It's kind of an unfair question to me. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do this question justice, because I am not up to date with like
Mm.
most of what's going on.
Hmm.
Right? I know the R5. I know the A7S3. Just because they always pop up in your YouTube searches.
Yeah.
But like as far as what other scenes out there, I don't know what Panasonic has right now. I don't know if Nikon has anything decent. I don't know if Fuji.
Well, with photo, you didn't pick the newest, the latest and greatest. You went with an older generation that was reliable. Do you have any favorites for wedding video, or if you needed to start a team?
Well, I went with the old and the reliable one because that's what I know, right? I've had experience with the A7 III. I'm not sure if like how that really compares to the 5D Mark III because I don't use it, right? So I guess it's up to the team, right? To the team that you're scaling with, what their needs are, what they're good at, and maybe that's a consideration too. But for video, I would say GH5 right now you can pick it up for $1,200.
Really, $1,200.
4K 60. You have
So we were just talking about this. We were comparing the C200, which we're filming on now, and the GH5. And Jerem said, "No, I'll go with the GH5." And I said, "What? You're gonna go with with the C200?" I mean, look at it.
What if you're talking events? Yeah, if you're talking events, and you got the 1080p, you got 1080p up to 180 frames per second. You got 4K 60. You got 10-bit. You got Vlog. The only thing,
none of which the C200 has.
it doesn't have it. Yeah, it only goes to 120,
Mm-hmm.
but it does do 4K 60.
It does do 4K.
Yeah,
That's right. That's
so-
right. No 10-bit.
No 10-bit though. But it's such a good price.
Mm-hmm.
It's an older camera now. It's reliable. Batteries last forever.
And if you go back to what video did we shoot on it last?
I think our last video.
Yeah, last video up here. That we shot on the GH5, and the colors on it were beautiful.
Oh yeah.
We had some pretty good lighting set up here in the studio, but I love the colors on that. Yeah, it's a good camera all around. Gimbal.
Work. The only thing that's the biggest complaint is the autofocus. Right.
That's
But-
all manual focus. If you're a wedding filmmaker and you're not using manual focus,
Oh, there goes half of our subscribers. Autofocus is nice. There's definitely times where autofocus is better than a person. Right. There's going to be those times, but I mean it's not always in your control. That's the
Right.
only thing. But yeah, that's a solid camera for the price. And you can adapt it with a speed booster, you can adapt it to Canon, and I think you can build a solid wedding and photo team using Canon glass and the 5D and the GH5 because now you can share your Canon glass and have that as your go-to for everything for your wedding photo video package.
when I first started shooting weddings, I was recommended either the GH5 or the A6500, and I went with the Sony route. But over the years, I have gone to use the GH5, and it's a beast for its little sensor. It's so cute. It's really a beast of a camera. So yeah, definitely a good pick. I would be torn, actually. I would be torn between going back to the A7 III and the GH5, but it kind of, I feel like nowadays there are a lot of hybrid shooters. There are a lot of photographers that have turned videographers because maybe they wanted to produce content on YouTube. Maybe they wanted to produce content for their clients, whatever it was. I feel like more photographers nowadays are hybrid, and I think that's one of the strengths that the Sony system, especially a camera like the A7 III, has. It's great in photo, and it's also a great video camera.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about the A7 IV. That should be coming out pretty soon too.
Oh, and that's gonna be like 4K 60.
It's
gotta
gonna be a
have
beast.
to.
When the
Okay.
A7 III came out, that just blew everybody away. I mean, so I think the A7 IV has got some big shoes to fill, especially with the last couple of cameras that Sony's been releasing. They just announced the 50 1.2 today. I think it's beautiful. They said it couldn't be done. But
I'm interested to see that. I haven't seen anything about it, but 51.2 is now Canon can't Canon users can't say anything. Oh, you don't have the
Yeah.
51.2.
Yeah. It's a pretty lens, and it's not too bad price. It's a G Master at about 1,800. I think it's going to be priced at. So we'll be having that in the studio and reviewing it for you guys. Just kidding. We won't get that. We're trying not to spend 2021. That's our goal.
Yeah,
for this, right?
we failed miserably.
We might have purchased a thing or two, but these are tools for the trade.
Yeah.
So I know now we're a little bit off topic. Going back to if you're trying to start a wedding business, whether it's either photo or video, we want to just kind of check in with you and share some of maybe the do-overs that we would do. We would start and maybe go a different route. If you are thinking of doing that, definitely consider for photo the 5D Mark III solid camera. We still recommend it for a full frame DSLR camera, or the A7 III if you wanted to go with the Sony E-mount setup.
Yeah, and I think it's always nice to have the latest, the shiniest toy, right? But you gotta think of what better way you can invest that money into, right? And I don't think it's gotta be all gear, right? You don't just invest everything in gear.
Yeah.
You
Marketing.
can invest in marketing, right? You can invest in whatever it is the business end has to take care of.
Maybe
right?
it's a second shooter.
Workshop, and that's just money better spent, money that's gonna return more, right? Say you spend $1,000 on a camera, $1,000 more on a camera model that's a higher end, and versus spending that $1,000 on marketing, you probably would say $1,000 just say gets you 10 other clients. That's a lot of return versus $1,000 on the camera that will probably not get you more clients, because it's not about the camera.
It's not about. It's really not about the camera. I've never had a bride or a groom say, "Hey, what camera are you going to shoot with in my wedding?"
Once
they don't.
we had it
really,
once, yeah.
They don't care about the camera, the lens that you're shooting with. They care about the end product. They care about who you are, and that you're going to do a good job at their wedding. Be a positive person there. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Those are the things that we recommend for some of the things that if we could go back, start fresh.
Yep. But we can't, so we're gonna stay with what we have. We're kind of in a crossroads right now with our systems. We've got a mixture, and it's for sure not efficient. Right, we got duplicate lenses for everything because we have a Sony and a Canon. But hopefully in the future we can. Well, the GH5 is also Canon lenses, so. But hopefully we can integrate it in the future and make it a more synergistic system.
Yeah. Well, it goes further than that. I mean, also the colors, right?
Colors,
the file sizes, the way that the files render with our computers, they all work differently. So
the menu system.
Well,
that has some truth to it. Not just, I know Sony's fixed their menu and they're getting hate for it, but if you know the menu, you know the menu.
Yeah.
But it's just switching between cameras doesn't have to be so drastic if it's all the same.
If it's all the same.
And it's gonna feel familiar, right? That's the whole draw with the cinema cameras. You hold a C200, you hold a C300, C500. They work very similar. Yeah. So that's just a workflow thing, color matching, workflow, lens matching. So in the future we're gonna have one or the other.
We don't know yet. I think from what we've learned, and I think we have learned, that is just get the tool that gets the job done. Whether it's Canon, Sony, Panasonic, whatever it is, the one that makes the best sense for the business.
Yeah, business comes first. Yep. And then if you make money on the business, then buy yourself a personal camera. If you want, you want a Red as a personal camera, buy it and then have your business rent it from you. And it's hard to kind of separate that sometimes. People get so passionate about shooting. I think I'm still in that place where everywhere I go I have a camera.
I want to document everything, and maybe that'll change, but it's still very much me right now.
That's good. That's what you want. That fuels the business.
Yeah,
That fuels the business.
Well, I hope it was a little helpful.
Topic.
I hope it was a little helpful, giving you a little bit of our feedback as far as what gear you might consider if you are starting a business and trying to be smart about running the business, not just burning all the cash or loading it up on the credit cards. Let us know what you get. I want to know who got the 5D Mark III and who got the R5. What is it? What's the new camera?
The R5.
The R5. Yeah, you R5ers. I'm watching you ballers.
That's
And what do you think of our podcast setup? You think we're gonna bring it back? We got a little tweaking to do to it. Huh?
I don't know if this is gonna be a regular thing of video podcast, at least.
Yeah.
This was just last minute because we had nothing.
And
we're trying to hit that Wednesday deadline for that we've hit 5 times in a row now.
Yeah, 5 times. Yeah. Or it's not our best video, but we wanted to put something out there, and we wanted to just talk about something that we love, and
we
love cameras, so
just spitball our thoughts there, and if it makes sense or not, or we're completely wrong, it's up to you. That's our thoughts. We'll see you next time, I think.
Thanks for stopping by.
Peace.